Hello, my name's Clare Murray and I'm managing partner of CM Murray, and we are a specialist employment partnership and regulatory firm. And I'm delighted to be joined by Zulon Begum, who is our fabulous partner and also co-head of our partnership team. Hi, Zulon.
Hi, Claire.
So we're here to talk about primarily two things. One is updating your LLP agreement to take account of anticipated mergers, or maybe unanticipated mergers. And secondly, to mention an online tool that we've developed called Check Your LLP Agreement. Firstly, Zulon, could you tell us what law firms should be looking at in their LLP agreement to anticipate the possibility of mergers and acquisitions, because I think there's going to be a huge amount of consolidation in the market over the next year or two, particularly given cash flow pressures, etc. So what should firms be looking at to anticipate that?
Well, three things really. How you make the decision to actually execute a merger or take on investment or some other transaction. Secondly, what do you do with any monies that might arise from it? Obviously, there are mergers that are for no premium, but more and more we're seeing actual money changing hands for mergers and involving professional practices, especially in fields like the law, which has become much liberalised following the ABS reforms. And thirdly, what do you do about partners who might dissent in any merger? Because such a fundamental decision can raise a lot of kind of issues within the partnership. There may be people for and against it. How do you deal with those potential ruptures within the partnership is key to make sure you cover in your partnership deed.
Mm-hmm. What sort of challenges can firms face if they don't have those kind of issues already built into their LLP agreement?
Well, the first problem could be that you could, because of the intractable issues in your partnership deed and your partnership, that you may never be able to make advantage of any kind of potential opportunity that arises, because firstly, you can't pass the necessary approval threshold because it's too high. For example, I mean, I've seen partnership deeds which require unanimous agreement or even sometimes 90% agreement to agree a merger or some other strategic transaction, which becomes almost impossible to do. And secondly, the other thing that I mentioned was around how do you share any capital profits that arise. Lots of partnership deeds that I see actually don't cater for the fact that capital profits might arise in this kind of transaction. And unless you actually cover it in your partnership deed and the opportunity arises, it creates a recipe for dispute, really, because if it's not covered in the LLP deed, there will be lots of different opinions as to how that pie should be shared. And that's when you can get into potential dispute territory with your partners.
We've certainly seen examples where that failure to provide for how capital profits would be shared has actually prevented a deal going through, or really significantly delayed or damaged the prospects of a firm. So it is a really significant issue that is worth anticipating. So if you don't have these provisions already in your LLP agreement, are there any short-term fixes?
Well, the obvious short-term fix that might come to mind is that you could amend the partnership deed, LLP deed, at the time that you contemplate doing the merger. But I would add a big note of caution to that, because if you do it at the time, then there's, if there are disgruntled partners who are not happy with that decision, then they could certainly challenge it as a decision to amend the LLP agreement was made in bad faith. So I would always advise you, even if you are not thinking about a merger at the moment, or if you think it might be on the horizon somewhere in the future, look at your partnership deed now and make those changes now way ahead before it becomes an issue and becomes a problem at the time.
Yeah, great, thank you. Very sensible advice. Now, just a quick, before we leave you, we'd like to very quickly show you our new online tool called Check Your LLP Agreement, which Zulon has led on for the last couple of years, which is fabulous. It's a self-guided sort of self-audit tool for your LLP agreement that you can read through. You go through a series of questions and it gives you a traffic light responses. I don't know if Zulon, you just want to give us a very quick overview of the sort of things that it covers. And whilst you're talking, I will sort of click through some of the questions and answers so you can see the kind of responses that you get.
Yeah, Claire, so it's been a labour of love over the last couple of years. Putting this together, it has taken an immense amount of work, but it's really based on our extensive experience of advising many different types of firms, whether it's global multinational partnerships to founder-led firms on key issues around their constitutions. And what we often see as being gaps in partnership deeds or lack of protection for partnerships in their partnership deeds. And it covers everything from governance, decision making, to profits and losses, to admissions and terminations of partners, to how to deal with partnership disputes. And hopefully it gives people who use it a really good overview of the key issues that should be covered in their partnership deeds, and potential gaps in protections that they might have. And it's a quick way to kind of identify those gaps by using it as a self-audit tool, as you described.
Yeah, and it's great and it's good fun. But I mean, it really does cover all the key areas that you should be thinking about. And it gives you, so power to put an outgoing member on garden leave. No, we don't have that in this theoretical. So then it tells you why it's helpful and it gives you a glossary. How to require a member to compulsorily retire without cause. No. So again, it gives you reasons as to why. How to expel without any notice. So yeah, so then you end up with this, you say this report, traffic light, it is guidance. There is obviously a great big disclaimer on the bottom. It's not legal advice, but it just gives you some real food for thought. You can print it off and you can use it as a guide. And then obviously you can come back to Zulon and talk about the issues that are thrown up. If that's helpful, we can help you with the drafting of any revisions if you'd like, or you can just take it and use it sort of yourself as a starting point. You probably do still need expert legal advice to make it properly useful and tailored to your circumstances. But we hope you like it. We hope you've enjoyed this overview. And if you have any questions, please do get in contact with us. Zulon would be delighted to hear from you, as would our other partner, Corin Staves, who sort of, like Zulon, lives and breathes partnership issues, non-contentious partnership and partnership advisory. We also have a fabulous partnership disputes team headed up by Sarah Chilton. So thanks so much. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Zulon, for all of your tremendous work in this area and on this tool, and hope you've enjoyed it.